today.
It's the holidays, they're all busy.
I will, guess I would say start recording. Yeah, recording. Okay. I'll call the meeting of Trees and Greenery Committee to get order for Wednesday, November 13th, 2024. We have the minutes from the October meeting. Any comments? Suggest changes?
I voted against that tree on Elwyn Sherman.
And you didn't get credit for that?
In the notes, it said it was a unanimous vote.
Oh.
There was a little
Yeah.
peach tree, I think.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, maybe we can
It doesn't have to be amended, but
correct that
thank you to
on the
know.
next time. Oh, any other changes on the, so on the minutes for the, I don't have it in front of me, but on, what was it, Sherburne Ave?
27
Ellen.
Sherman.
Ellen.
Elwin Ave
Ellen.
should have
Correct.
been noted, Michael Griffin's voted no on removal, recommending removal. Tree removal request today, 826 South Street.
Yeah, I've been watching this red oak decline over the past couple of years after that sidewalk was installed, but at this point,
Is continuing to lean beyond what it was before.
yeah, it has leaned beyond what it was, and it's starting to decline from the top. So that tells me that, I don't know, and we should probably beat it to the punch before something like this past April comes around again, which is my fear.
Mhm.
So, and the fact that it's a well-traveled road.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion to recommend?
I motion to recommend to remove that tree.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by
Who gets the
Deb.
firewood?
Second.
Who gets the firewood?
you want it? Go down there with your cart and start all.
Seconded by Dennis, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
151 Clinton Street on Stark.
Yeah, this was a resident request. It's just a poor looking cherry. As noted here, there are some cavities with decay at some major union points in the tree. It definitely has declined and around so right where that pickup truck is, Peter, between the two driveways, a little bit further in. Yeah,
That's it. There.
there you go, right there on the left.
The two.
Yep, so it's
Right.
so that's what it looked like in 2011.
I was gonna say, that looked pretty good. It
yeah.
doesn't look like that now.
So there have been a few instances where homeowners would reach out with a cherry or some kind of stone fruit after the weird weather we've been having in the spring, right? And I usually tell them to wait and see what the tree ends up doing. It could put out some new leaves and look totally fine and recover for the most part. This one has definitely tried. I'd say we're looking at probably closer to like 60% returned foliage from what I'm assuming would be closer to 100 following that inclement weather. I think it's kind of a crapshoot at this point if it really holds out and recovers in a more significant way, but I have my doubts.
When did you prune it last?
We actually have not pruned it.
It's got some deep rot in a couple of those limbs I was poking out.
Yeah,
It's one.
Yeah. So in my mind, thinking about the loss of foliage and photosynthesizing parts, I'm just, then weighing in all the other structural things. And obviously it's not a great big tree. I think I wouldn't want to park my car underneath something like that long term, but in the immediacy, is it this huge hazard? No, but is it a tree that, obviously the resident would like it removed? We could go through and prune, but a part of me just knows that, with cherries, I think it'd be just best to remove at this point.
Do we have a motion to recommend removal?
I'll make that
By
motion.
Dennis, seconded by
second.
Pat. Any discussion on?
Aye.
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 10 McClintock Ave.
Yeah, this tree, another sort of resident request, and it's actually on Woodworth around the corner. Yep. And then it's that ash right there, right next to the road. Actually, there's two there. So yeah, go down, if you can, go down Woodworth. And then,
Right there.
so I think it's the one on the left. Yep. Yep. So I did see some exit holes, some EAB exit holes in the uppermost part of the canopy. There's not a whole lot of blonding or anything like that, but it definitely, it took me a little bit to find some, but I did see some exit holes. So again, just another declining ash.
The tree in the foreground, is that that's a maple?
This one right here,
Yeah, right there.
I think that was already removed.
That looks like it dashed too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
No.
Mhm.
I know, so this resident knew these were city trees because that tree was also removed. I believe, I think Corin may have done that a while ago. I don't know. It was before my time. So yeah, that's pretty much where we're at with this tree.
Any questions? Do we have a motion to recommend removal?
I move to remove.
Moved by Pat, seconded by Dennis. All in favor?
Aye.
On the opposite corner, going up Woodworth, there's 3 more ash. Are those on private property?
On Woodworth,
Going up toward
up the hill.
middle,
Uh,
they're inside that white
I
fence.
think so. Yeah, I think so. I can double check that. Sometimes homeowners unintentionally put, fences into the right of way. So I'd have to just,
Just
cross-reference
curious.
it, but yeah. No, I'll definitely check that out.
21 Pleasant Street, 2 ash.
I drove by yesterday and noticed that the removal tags were removed.
Oh,
Yeah, so I don't know what the deal was. I saw that because I was double checking on the planting bed for the holiday tree. So Peter, it's
Right here.
actually it's to your right. So it's that one in front of the white car and then the one to the left of the sidewalk right there. Yep. So those 2 are ash that we removed. The first one, so if it's 1, 2, 3, starting from left to right, we removed the leftmost tree because a box truck.
that's the one.
That's the
right?
one that was destroyed recently. And the other 2, so that middle tree, the one, yep, with the
Mhm.
cursor, so that one, they look pretty much identical, those 2 on the left. And then the third one on the right looks the best and it looks, totally fine. But again, there is some slight blonding and there absolutely are exit holes from EAB in the upper part of the crown there. So we have porous paved since. Yeah.
Would it make any sense to leave the one on the best one, but till the others establish a little bit more?
There was no significant deadwood or anything like that, so we can absolutely remove the worst of the 2.
So
And-
those will be the 2 on the left.
Yeah, so it'd be,
gone, right?
yep,
Cause and the
And-
one up there is really, you can see it.
yeah,
I like that idea, Peter.
yeah. I mean, until it becomes a safety issue, I have no problem keeping it.
Mhm.
That's no problem.
Especially when somebody took the time to remove the signs,
Yeah,
meaning that
yeah.
they would really like to keep them.
Oh.
That's what it says to me.
I wish people's.
They're just vandals.
Always
These vandals are so
looking on the
nice.
happy side.
I mean, I think
That's a
vandals would do
DPW
something a
response.
little worse than that, so that's my. Yeah, I would propose that motion. I would second that motion that Peter just made.
Can we leave it in there that Max can just remove the other one? If he sees or if something comes up. So he doesn't have to revisit us again.
I would suggest not doing that, because if we go along for a year and Max says, okay, it's time to go, and we go in and cut it, the general public may be like, well, they just arbitrarily cut the tree
Okay.
down without going through the notice process.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and I like the idea that those 2 on the left would become more established and show the good faith of rollover. So-
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's right outside of Ben Wheeler's window.
Probably.
At Piscataqua. So the motion is to recommend removal of the 2 on the left. I don't know how that looks in
No,
the,
the middle.
One's gone.
The middle one,
middle one on the left.
Or the
Yeah.
middle
Yeah.
one.
Correct.
That was taken down.
Yes, yep,
Okay. So the tree to the left as you face it, Piscataqua Bank entrance.
perfect. Yep.
Right next to the crosswalk.
The other one gets a reprieve.
What would
Yeah.
you replant there?
Well,
Didn't Mark McNabb replant the ones further?
yeah, there are two Zelkovas there now.
Ah.
I don't know. So I know, and I was thinking about this when I was getting ready this morning. In preparation for planting, I know long-term we have a, like a whole Market Square sort of revitalization
Mhm.
effort that's ongoing and being developed now. So a part of me loves the idea of getting a new tree in there for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years, whatever the case is. And then what that could potentially look like when that project comes to fruition, when construction really starts in that area. So I'd have to double check and make sure if we are planting something in these sites that they won't be truly impacted by any kind of construction or infrastructure improvement that occurs downtown in this area. So yeah, I think that'd be a great location to get something else in, but we have to do a little bit more future proofing of those sites, I think.
So on the motion to remove, any discussion? All in favor?
I seconded it.
Max,
Okay.
I think about exploring if we can improve, like
Yeah,
zone via silver cell or something like that.
Yeah.
If we are successful,
absolutely.
getting more monies for capital, this might be an opportunity to,
That'd be fantastic.
and then you could do a larger tree that could.
Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But you would proceed with something this coming year, anticipating that it wouldn't be left unplanted for,
It may be left unplanted for 1 year. I think best case scenario, we throw something in this spring. It will take a little bit of effort to get that root cluster out. We had to grind, so on Porter Street, right across the street, there was this large linden that we removed. And we grinded it out as best we could because the root mass was so large. That Vector truck that you saw, we would, because these roots are, I guess they're a little bit smaller, we would try and get in there, Vector all the material out, and then just sort of remove, with hand saws and whatever, or chainsaws as best we can and get as much of that out. But we're not removing bricks. We're not, doing this big excavation job. So usually we try and leave a site alone for a little bit and let those things start to decompose on their own. And maybe then we can get in there and I don't know. So it gives me pause to just say, yes, we'll plant something this coming spring.
but I wasn't
Yeah.
meant so much this spring as,
Oh, okay.
as not saying, well, in 5 years, we think we're gonna do something.
I
and
see.
Just let these sites.
I
sit.
think with the vacancies in these sites, it'll give me, I'll spend a little bit more time considering what we can do and what the best path forward is for replanting. I think we absolutely should. And if Peter mentioned, if we can afford some silvicels, that would be awesome, because then we're removing all that root material and getting some structures underground that'll allow for a long-term tree to establish in that site. So if that's the route we take and it means that the site is vacant for a year or two while we get those ducks in a row, I'm all for that. If that means long-term, those trees are much more viable to
And-
stick around.
Piscataqua Bank is so involved in beautification, they might be interested in this.
That would
too.
be, yeah, I think, there's always, when I think about tree planting sites like this, I know these trees are on somewhat of a time limit if there are no structures or no like structural soils in place, because they only have so far to go and establish roots. So if we can do a better job of, maybe intermittently incorporating those things into these sites as they come up, and then in 5-10 years, the majority of those new trees that are downtown are in those kinds of structures, I would be so happy. I think that would be just awesome for, the longevity of the urban canopy downtown. Like I always feel weird planting a tree into a pit where I know it only has
Mhm.
like 5 or 10 years to really get out, and then it's kind of on the decline for a little bit. So, yeah, whatever we can do to make those sites more accommodating for trees,
So
I'm all for it.
think as you pointed out, the Market Square Master Plan is gonna have an element of tree plantings. And I think it's appropriate for the committee to be able to review those plans and to weigh in and potentially support the expenditures of a little bit more money to create those civet cells areas. So you can have so part of the push is to, have that urban canopy, heat islands and all those other, I don't want to steal your thunder. I know you get,
No, it's fine.
so
So Peter, to the point of the Market Street revitalization. For example, the tree in front of what used to be Starbucks, it's
Yeah,
kind of sad.
yeah.
Or is that just on hold because we know we will be doing some work at some point on the square?
I would recommend being on hold for a little bit. And doing, maybe some manuals or something that, that
That tree needs.
as a
more than
placeholder.
annuals.
I'd hate to put a tree in and then, oh yeah, we were planning on because most likely that whole terraced area is gonna get reworked.
Okay,
So, we need to.
Yeah.
We need to see what the plan is gonna recommend, and once we get the idea of the plan, then we can start replanting trees as long as we know we're not gonna be conflicting with, I'd hate to spend the monies. Then turn around, and come back to us and say, yeah, we're gonna have to pull the tree out.
Right.
yes, no, I agree on that.
I do too.
But I just made a note to talk to Peter Britz about, how this committee could interface with that effort.
Two Market Street.
So right across the street from this location, there are, I believe, actually go up a little bit toward the church and now look to your left. I believe it is those two. Yep. So those two Norways right there, right next to the parking spaces. One central decline through its main canopy, and then on the smaller of the two on the backhand side, there's just this really tall, like long column of decay through the center. Two pretty small trees, but again, I don't know if there's some small hangers in one of the maples there, but again, it's, smaller branches are detaching and could become a hazard.
Were they not good choices?
De-icing salt. could be looked
Ice
at.
and salt in the Norway maple and where, and the sun and all those.
Yeah, you pick your poison, right? Like what urban condition do you think these trees are succumbing to? And it's likely a little bit of everything. Yeah. Salts, we saw all of our downtown sidewalks. I feel like Norway's are decent urban trees and tolerate a variety of things, but if there are other elements or
Dogs.
yeah, dogs, yeah, if there are other conditions that feed into the state of decline that these trees are in, what realistic chance is there for these to really
You're
kind of
looking at
bounce
all
back?
those trees been in there for over 20 years.
I was gonna say, we,
Wow.
at
Oh,
least
is
that
that
was
Yep.
70s, right?
So-
So,
I feel better about that.
Sometime in the eighties,
Okay.
Market Square was late seventies, early eighties, and so we've been slowly picking away some of those trees.
Mhm.
Norway's have been on the ban list for more than 10 years, so so they're already there. We've had some issues with some of those trees, so there's definitely soil problem, because that's what we've had, when Chuck was putting in the
forest pave?
pavement,
Yeah,
we've
the
had
forest
issues
pave.
with the church in the past.
Yeah.
They were making claims that, the roots were getting into the basement, stuff like that.
Ah.
long
That
time
was,
ago.
that was that.
That was the Linden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Corner.
So that whole section has
That's
probably
doing
got
pretty
some pretty
well.
lousy ground.
It's doing really well. Yeah.
You don't anticipate they're gonna come back and ask to take it out?
I actually want to see, I need to know what the scope of that project
Right.
is, and I haven't really seen or heard anything
Of the
about.
Church's project.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know that it's all fenced off. I'm sure
Yeah.
you all have seen that recently too.
Yeah.
So I need,
It was mainly the entrance and,
Mhm.
and that's what I understood. Not-
okay.
Not that, I don't think they were reworking this area.
okay, so it's just their entrance to the church itself. Okay.
Yep.
Great. Yeah, that's, that's absolutely something we'll keep tabs on as far as that Linden goes. But yeah, again, so I guess everything that we talked about for those ash trees also apply over here. It's like, should we replant now? Should we wait? Do we have money to do some kind of, structural, installation for those trees? Like that all applies here as well.
I once read
Oh, he answered
something,
my question.
I once read something that we might want to consider urban trees like we consider a bench. It's a limited life expectancy. And you know, if a downtown bench has a problem after 40 years, we wouldn't say, oh, we
Mhm.
shouldn't do it again. And this is and we've got 40 years out of those trees.
Ah.
I mean, that's pretty
That's
damn good.
impressive.
You're 3 times the average. So trees, everything's always usually based off New York City, which is obviously harsher elements
Mhm.
from public than we are, but there's always studies being done in New York City. They're happy if they get 7 to 10 years out of
Mhm.
trees and replant.
Mhm.
They've got so many arborists on staff that there's crews to, just plant, just planting their trees. And they get 7 to 10 years and they're okay with that. And they're, those trees are costing them $5,000. To get 10 years out of that
Wow.
tree. That's what they're, cause to get it installed, to get it in, to get it watered, and then take it down. And they just cycle trees through like that.
Well, and to Peter's point about putting an annual or some of the large pots downtown that have, maybe a business could underwrite that or something temporarily until you make a decision about it. They're beautiful and they're visual and colorful. I think that's a nice mix up. So,
So do we vote on that one yet or not? On Market?
No, we did not.
It's Market Street, but it's really Market Square, I think is what. But, okay. I can't remember if we voted.
We did not.
We did not.
Okay.
Made a motion. Yeah.
All in favor of the recommendation to remove?
Aye.
Uh,
Who made the
Uno,
motion
yeah.
and who seconded?
I'll motion it.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay.
and I say aye.
So it passes.
Yes.
Update on the ongoing maintenance and planting plans.
So I'll pass these around. I'll start with you. So this is the final of our door hang.
Wow.
So I have 750 of these ready to go. Obviously, we do 150, so that buys us, enough for.
You have 750 and we didn't get any over here.
Oh, no, they're gonna pass it around. Here.
It's absurd. We have 750, but we can't see one, Deb.
So yeah, I took all your recommendations, added my phone number begrudgingly. But no, I think I think this is hopefully going to make this process way more streamlined. It'll save me, hopefully. I feel like I may get more calls
Yeah.
this spring. But from maybe people who want to be more involved in the process. And maybe are interested in what the tree is and if there's any flexibility. So knock on wood, cross your fingers for me that it all goes over smoothly, but I think more information to the public will be better than less. I'm gonna try, this is kind of the start for me, but I will try to do, I feel like the next thing I want to tackle are mulch volcanoes. Because I see those everywhere and it drives me absolutely mulch volcanoes
Oh,
and it drives me crazy. So this actually was very affordable to do. It just took me tinkering for a little bit to get everything to work nice, but mulch volcanoes will probably be the next little public sort of informational thing that I'll work on and have that ready to go maybe by next summer after everybody's gone through and done had all their contractors in and gardening and everything and piling up mulch. It's what's the name of the road off of Beverly Hill, that new development that's going in? Do you know the name of that?
Oh, the one behind the
Parsons, is
cemetery.
Yeah, Parsons Woods or Parsons Wood. Every one of those trees is mulch volcanoed and I'm like, oh my God, it's
I wonder if
bad.
it's the same landscaper.
It could be. I do not know, but I know, yeah.
So we should let Vinny know.
Okay,
Um,
yeah,
he'll go out and he'll make sure they're addressed.
okay, yeah,
They sell mulch by the yard. And so if you want to buy mulch every year, how do we put more on? We pile more up.
mhm.
So it's just one of those things and you get no weeds. So you're reinforcing in your mind that you're doing everything right. Cause you're putting more mulch on and you're getting no weeds. And nothing bad happens for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, depending on the tree species. but that trunk is rotting,
Yes.
it's just slowly starting to decay where it wants to be dry.
Mhm.
But you don't see that problem for years.
Mhm.
So then you hire the same guy back to replace the tree and the same guy comes back and gives you more mulch every year.
Yeah.
You can get a lot out of mulch just by just raking it and turning it around and getting if you're
Mhm.
into the color that you're trying to get.
Yeah, we weevil, I mean, it's a little hand tool that looks, yeah, we weevil it up and it fluffs it all up and it kind of bounces it back for another season. But yeah, it's a problem for sure.
I've
So
actually been in places killing time for whatever reason and I.
Perfect.
That's what's that strange lady doing?
And does she have her badge on?
She's
Incognito.
out of town.
No.
Vacation.
Yeah, other than that, I'm still getting notifications from Schichtel's about some adjustments they need to make to the order. So if there's, say I had an inch and 1.75 inch caliper tree, they'll say we can't do that, but we can do the 1.5. So we're making adjustments as we go, but I think for all intents and purposes, that list that you saw is locked down.
Job.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, now it's just waiting until April. So
And would this be a good time to, where we started talking about the conifers?
yeah, I mean, my plan for
Thought
the
maybe we could get
conifers,
5.
what's that?
Is that maybe 5? You
Yeah,
could
I'm
have?
thinking, yeah, so it could be something like 4, because we're gonna have to go to a local nursery and buy those. So what I'll end up doing is that'll just be following our bare root planting
Good.
season. But I do intend to get at least 4 in the ground. But I mean, yeah, I don't know why I'm
You're saying
arbitrarily
we should
saying
5,
4 and
right?
not 5,
That's fine,
but
yeah.
yeah, we can
Yeah.
shoot for 5 and see where we get for sure.
Because as everything, the leaves have come off, it's just looking so drab, and I thought, oh, if we
Yeah.
had some conifers, it would just
Yeah.
spruce things up.
Nice. Yeah, very nice.
And
Yeah, as far as, yeah, tree
Okay.
maintenance and planting plans, we're just waiting now and we seem to be in good shape.
It's funny, the Urban Forestry Center, you're going across Route 1, the Sagamore Creek Bridge, you look over and there's a ton of conifers in that whole area. It's just like, oh, this, and because I was thinking what you were saying, I'm like, yeah, there's a ton of conifers over there. We're doing okay.
But it'd be nice to
It's
have them
intermittent.
all over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a tough situation for an urban tree just because they get wide.
Uh-huh.
Most of them get, so they just eat up space.
yeah, parks will be the
Parks,
location.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, I know there's on Route 33, is it Harvard that's right there or well, anyway, there's that. Yeah, so there's that large sort of green strip area
Mhm.
that was used to sort of block and, for those residents, I know there's some gaps in there that we can, actually a resident specifically requested we fill a little gap where we did have to remove
Mhm.
a spruce tree a little bit ago. She's like, can you please put another spruce back in? Absolutely. We're planting some spruce trees
Good.
this spring. So
Well, down, I think it's South Street and, is it Broad? They landscaped that corner there. And it's just like a block back from the light and they put some spruce and it looks nice there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just more activating
yeah,
for the
absolutely.
winter time.
You guys have a little park. Corin got some trees from me on 33, just outside of Forthbrook Ave.
Is that? I think that's maybe what I was referencing. I can't, where's there? Was that it?
We put them in probably
5, 6 years ago?
just when Corin started.
Oh, okay.
We actually dug them and bare rooted them at my place, put them in over there.
Oh, wow. I think maybe that's what I'm referring to, because it's like a whole line
Yeah.
of spruce trees.
Spruce and some
Yeah.
concolor firs and
Yes.
stuff like that.
Yes, okay, yeah. So that site is where a resident requested we put at least 1 or 2 more, so.
Good.
This committee has been in existence for 20 years, I guess more than 20 years. And I've been, excuse me, on it for all that time, but and I like to think that we think about certain things, be helpful in the tree planting process. And but after 20 years, it wasn't until Max came along and I'm thinking, why didn't I think of this idea? Great idea, Max.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
It's gonna make us
The shoulders of giants.
So.
Well, and a lot of people, as I keep saying, go to the city site, check on the city site, go to the city site, go to the city site, because a lot of people don't go to the city site and don't get the newsletter. And so they're out of the loop and that's on them, but this bridges that. That's good.
Yeah, it's really well done.
I've had 3 people in the last couple of weeks. I didn't know we had an arborist.
There we go.
We actually have a number of arborists.
That's
I know,
the-
yeah, we got. quite a
So
few.
we are a tree city. Go to the city site and find out more about it.
A discussion of the heat island study.
Yeah, if everyone sort of reviewed that, I know I sent it as an attachment. I do have something I can pass around, but I won't belabor, obviously, like it all makes sense, right? Like when you were looking at this, of course, like, yes, that does lead to warmer local areas of your city. All the impermeable surfaces, there's no canopy cover, like it just makes sense. But I think the implication or like the thing that I'm taking away from this is how do we get more trees in those locations? How do we how do we allow them to establish and mature and really give as many benefits as possible? And it is putting in those structures underground. It is allowing them to mature to some, allow them to achieve some kind of maturity. If we're just putting in bare root trees every 10 years, what benefit, what kind of shade is that creating for these spaces? And it's not a whole lot. As soon as those trees do hit maturity though, it's just such a greater, it compounds everything good that a tree does. And in those locations where we absolutely need them, just driving through those spots, it's obvious that there aren't a lot of great places for trees. What we get are, smaller, more ornamental because of all the power lines and, the rough soils are great for maybe your more invasive kind of species that can tolerate that, but are those the kind of trees that we're trying to, nurture in our urban canopy? So yeah, that's my takeaway. It's, we need to hopefully do a lot better in getting trees into these locations, and how do we get them to age out in those spots?
To add on to that, you guys can get onto iTree, My Tree. And you can figure out what a tree can do, for you, right? You can do it at your house, you can do it at somebody else's house, it doesn't matter. But it will plot that tree at your house. And, this year it doesn't do anything, but in 10 years it does this, and you can, essentially fictitiously move the tree around your yard. So you can get more out of something in the right direction.
That's iTree, My Tree.
Yeah, so iTree is a whole suite of software originally designed actually right in Massachusetts by a gentleman for tree inventory. Just for real basic, simple tree inventory. Forest Service, Davy, everybody got a hold of it. It went crazy into complications, and they have a whole bunch of neat stuff with it. We did a storms calculation here in the city years ago as part of a project with crop extension. So there's iTree storms and stuff. Some things they've sort of given up on. Unfortunately, they've given up on the inventory program that it all started with, due to politics and other things that we can't discuss. But there's still a suite of software that is great for people to use. The Forest Service, funds part of this.
And I think for a certain audience, it does assign a dollar amount. Like, here are your estimated annual bill savings based on this one tree that you've provided.
Do some calculations
Yeah.
with that. It's probably one of their best things just to sell the idea of a tree, in communities. Because it costs. It costs to have max plant trees. There's a cost to all this kind of stuff.
Sure.
But there's a cost to doing nothing as well.
So down in the Foundry garage area with all our new, intensive building, and then the building that's going to be in the Sheridan, where are we with the green space that is, do we as a city can we say that you need to give us green space, you need to have areas for trees, or where are we with those types of ordinances and buildings?
It's in our ordinances.
Yeah,
It says
okay.
How much coverage, in the urban core, you can build to the lot line, in a lot of it, so that doesn't have open space requirements. per se. And I'm not the planner, so the planning department is most versed in these requirements, and I'd encourage you to talk to Peter Stith.
Yep.
Um,
Okay.
about that.
Mhm.
We are very cognizant about making sure we require development to put trees in. But given the fact that they can do as much coverage of the lot as they can, it's typically on the sidewalk that they install in those areas that become public right away, that
Mhm.
we're able to, to force the issue.
Mhm.
So,
That's really all a site review, and I think over the years, site review has done a great job. I mean, you have a lot of constraints, but I think Port Walk Place, the landscaping in Port Walk Place is exemplary, and I just, in some ways, in the urban sections, I think site review is almost as important as zoning. I mean, it just looks at an area and how to make it attractive.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And add to the walkability, especially I've always been thinking about, how you connect the Foundry parking into the downtown area, and that's coming along, and I know there was a lot of development that was happening by the time it was built. Yeah, and the music hall was trying to use it a lot to give, to kind of, you give a pass, punch a ticket, and they were trying to bring it in faster. I know walkability is all about how it feels. Do you feel sheltered? Do you have green space? Is it lit? So I know we're doing a pretty good job on that. Connecting the walkability of that do you know
Yeah,
more
yeah.
about it?
Yeah, well, I'm recalling the conversation and the landscape plan approval that we went through. I can't, I know it was recent, but that whole Deer Street, that new
Mhm.
building that's sort of next to the railroad right over
Yep,
there, and how
right.
they're gonna have that whole backside as green space, and then the front is gonna have like nice long planting beds with trees in it. So I know, and I think that's who's the individual that's doing that? What's that?
Tom Ballin.
For the land, yeah, the landscaper though that's doing it, is it
Terrence Park?
Terrence?
Is it-
Yes, it was Terrence. Thank you. Yes. So
Okay.
I know when people like that
Yes.
are,
Yeah.
I know that the developer has hired the right contractor. Like whenever I see Terrence, I'm like, all right, it's gonna be a good design. It's gonna be
Mindful and
thoughtful.
thoughtful.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
know whenever I see there are some names that float around, I'm like, okay, we're good. It's gonna look nice. And I feel like I see those names more often than not. So that tells me that there is an effort being made by those developers to have some really good
It's just
minds on
makes it
that.
so much easier. How do fountains sort of work in the whole heat calming kind of?
I don't know. I don't know. I can't even begin to speculate on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wondered about as cooling stations. I do, that, a lot of big towns have areas where they have splash things and you
Oh,
see
sure.
that. So I was just,
Yeah.
just wondering.
I mean,
Maybe
we're
we're not
everybody's
there.
talking about them. I mean.
Oh, they are?
oh,
Okay.
yeah, Rec programs are talking about them, the master plan down in, Market Square. I mean, it's a matter of where is it appropriate
Mhm.
to have something like that?
Good. It's just nice to know that it's on the table being talked about.
Yeah, I mean, you would think you'd co-locate it with a playground, but parents don't like to do that because the kids will automatically go to the splash pad and then they'll get totally trashed and.
Absolutely.
So it's
I'm one of those
keep them
parents. right?
Separated, so.
Okay.
Any old business?
The location on Woodbury Avenue that you said would use a nice tree or in front of that redevelopment of the trailers.
I think that would be a lovely
a-
space for
There's
a,
tulip tree on that knoll.
I'd like to see,
Oh,
I'd like
yeah.
to see some green there, let's, a spruce or
Yeah.
something kind of, or maybe a couple different things, because it's so harsh there.
I think we have, so
Just one tulip tree that I saw.
yeah, we can do a couple more trees right there on that corner.
Mhm.
And then I know the city, so that road that's sort of set behind that tree line there.
Yes.
Did that used to connect
Yes.
all the way through? So I believe the right of way kind of extends from where that road begins off of Woodbury and it goes around onto Market. So we do have a lot of space to work
A
with.
lot of potential.
So I have no problem putting some more trees out in that.
And power
large spot.
lines are not around that area?
I don't think
Is that
so.
true? So go big.
Yeah. We can do a few more tulip poplars or whatever. Yeah, we have plenty to work with. So
Any new business?
Did you bring those?
Did not, I didn't go to the office this morning, so
Oh, okay.
I'll get them to you. It's not winter yet.
It's fine. I asked AJ, I was going through some paperwork and there's a great brochure he puts out and it's how to identify trees with their twigs.
Yeah, it's a winter, quick, I get the guy that we had one of our staff, amazing artist,
It's amazing.
you know, she drew everything for us. She lives right here in Portsmouth.
oh, cool.
So she drew everything up, so we always plagiarize, I mean, everybody else's information when we're teaching classes, and she had the ability to draw the stuff up, so.
Cool.
Had to go around and grab a million leaves and sticks for it, and she drew them all up.
So I thought we'd all enjoy, you know,
Yes.
as right now, you could probably put many things in front of me. I'd say, uh-huh.
I do have a thing in new business. So I remember you reached out, Dennis, about potentially having access to the tree inventory. And I've been working with our GIS specialist upstairs, and he said that there is a way to make. So essentially what you would have access to would just be the points on a map that we've created.
Mhm.
You wouldn't be allowed to do any kind of editing, or you wouldn't have access to, say, like the work orders completed or anything like that, but you would have like the ID number, which is kind of unruly because we started, instead of, you know, going through numerically, we started doing it by date of when so then it's month, day, year, 01 or 02, whatever it ends up being. So anyway, but you would have access to what we've had inventoried.
So like we could find out how many and where the sugar maples are.
I think you should be able, yeah. So my understanding is you would be able to use those same tools to sort through by species. Trying to think if there'd be any other way. What we did, we Frankensteined the inventory from before with another inventory that was running. It's really confusing because I never had access to it before, but when I think these two data sets were combined, there's a difference in formatting from older inventory trees and then sort of the middle ground and then now the stuff that we're doing. So it's kind of a bunch of just 3 different sets of data kind of running at the same time. So it should be accurate, but there's no way we've gone through every single tree that we have and verified that, hey, is this, 20-inch sugar maple, is this still here from when it was inventoried 10 years ago or 6 years ago or last month? So you'll have access to it. Is it foolproof accurate? Absolutely not. And that'll probably be a disclaimer when you're clicking through. And I think that will be able to live on either on our trees and greenery page, or I know there's another GIS map that also lives somewhere for property boundaries. I don't know if they would live in the same location, but I'll be sure to let everybody know where that ends up living.
Great.
Yeah.
I remember asking Chuck about having an inventory list years ago, and I guess I can understand now better why we don't have a list.
Yeah, a part of, I remember when he and I were talking, because back when I worked for the city of Denver, they were running a program called Tree Keeper. And the idea was if we hired them to come in, they would go through the entire old inventory. Actually, I think what they were talking about was kind of scrapping that whole thing and then just doing a whole new inventory from here on. And then we would manage it that way. Obviously, that's not something that we can do, but we're definitely making the best of what we can with the data that we have historically. And as we go, and I may have mentioned this a while ago, but as we go around and work on anything, say we do work on a 20-inch sugar maple, we'll do the prune and we'll update any sort of our inventory to best represent what we have now.
Sure.
So that's how we've been maintaining our tree inventory, is just on a work basis. I almost sent Mary Ellie, our intern who worked on the Heat Island. If she was a little bit better at tree ID, I would have had no problem send her out to just go through and systematically hit every park and verify that those are all set. And now take this section of town, now go to so potentially next summer when I have another intern, I think that'll be the project that I want them to focus on the most.
So just for people's education, There's something called Map Geo, which you get to go to the city's website. If you go to the city's website, go to departments, Public Works, Operations, Geographic Information System. And then you click on that. And there's a bunch of questions when you first log on, but it's really easy. You just keep clicking yes. And then you can click on, it's actually kind of fun because you can be a little nosy to say, oh, what's this property here? You know, I don't know what that is. So you click on and you get this data sheet about it. What's the value? What's the square footage? You know, what's the acreage? So it's a lot of interesting information about, you know, properties in the city of Portsmouth.
And if you zoom in closer, Peter, I know, so this is one of the older tree inventory layers. So all of those points are trees. So that is where an inventory lived. It's not, that is not what we're updating now. So whenever that was captured, that is, you know, it could be very accurate. Otherwise,
It's missing a few in.
yeah, it's missing quite a few, yeah.
City trees, right?
Those are city
Yes.
trees, so the
Yep.
focus was everything within, you know, along the right of ways.
Mhm.
And then immediately impact, because Todd and I put this together initially. I funded the intern to go around and she did 2/3 of the city. And then somebody else
don't know.
was filling in some of this kind of stuff. Both my intern and whoever the other person was, both had identification issues. It's tough to identify all the trees that you're gonna find. It's just not a normal thing. So we did go through and try to fix per neighborhood, anything that were difficult species. We just never put it all together. We had her on for a summer and part of another summer. It would have been when Todd was, wow. This has to be 15 years ago.
Yeah.
When Todd was first on.
In my understanding, any changes we're doing to our own set now is not represented here. Just wanted to clarify that again.
And the aerials are actually they're better than Google aerials. We have a service with a satellite company that comes through and takes pictures every year for us.
Is that under Map Geo, Peter?
It's on Map Geo, yes.
When you
I
blow
use
up
Map
the
Geo
whole
all the
tree
time. I didn't
cemetery.
know about
Yeah,
that.
you gotta go to themes. Go to themes.
The cemetery right
Just
there.
click. You get Google Map,
Came out great.
Yeah.
which gives you that, or you can
Yeah,
do
this-
aerials.
I'll tell you after.
So, neat stuff.
Yeah,
Mm.
really
Can you
neat
zoom in on
stuff.
Hall Cemetery right there?
That sounds like a January afternoon on a snow day.
Yeah.
That's it.
Things to
That's
do.
after the trees
Yeah.
are taken out.
Right,
Hmm.
Oh.
right, yeah. Hmm.
Cool.
Max, who did that work? Was that Knowles?
Yeah, Knowles did the removals in the cemetery and then we had Seacoast. No, Seaside Arbor Solutions do it's a one-man show, but he did that whole trail in from South Street.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had two different contractors working on that.
Any other old, new, intermediate business?
Last bit for me is we're gonna be working on a project within our trees and our arboretum that was established, you know, back in the late 70s and early 80s. I know I have trees out there still in wire cages. Because we found them accidentally with our mowing equipment this past year. And I want to air spade out, I'm gonna have to sacrifice a tree.
Hmm.
But we're gonna air spade out a tree to see how much damage the cages are really doing.
Ah,
The cages are still intact. We hand dug a bunch of it. And I've always wanted to be able to prove to enough people, so. We've got, help from Bartlett Tree. They're willing to help out with this kind of stuff, so if we do it that day, I'll let you know about it. It's a completely messy operation. It's just flying mud and dirt in every direction, so it's not something you're gonna wanna be there for the full time. But I'll let your guys know about it. when-
Yeah,
if
that sounds
they wanna-
really
If they wanna
interesting.
come and play with it at the same time.
How
Yeah.
long have those trees been in the ground?
Mary put them in the late 70s.
oh,
Wow.
So 70s and 80s, and unfortunately, the cages are still really intact. They have not rusted away.
Quality steel.
yeah. Cool.
But
Alright.
if you've been out in our arboretum, they're beautiful trees, but they're really sad. You know, those trees should be 3 times the size that they are.
Ah,
Been there for 40, 50 years.
yeah.
Is it just the wire or is it Was any fabric?
I haven't found any fabric. We didn't do a lot of digging because I didn't want to hurt the trees. We were too much into a drought this summer, so we just sort of dug around. But I want to excavate an entire tree. And we want to do it in the fall or very early in the spring. Just depends when I can get there, borrow their equipment.
If you let us all know when you do.
I will,
that.
yeah. It may be sort of a short notice thing.
That's
So we're
fine.
just fitting into, when they're available and hopefully free.
Is there there's no like estimated time at this point? It's just whenever the stars
So I
align?
gotta get in touch with their sales guy
Okay.
out of Dover and stuff like that. So
Okay.
I'll try to narrow it down to a week.
Okay, perfect.
I've just been waiting for fall rain to show up and I haven't had fall
It
rain
really
yet.
Winter rain now?
Winter rain.
I just want to do it on a cold, miserable, rainy. I want to try to keep that tree intact if we can.
Mm.
Yeah,
It doesn't hurt a tree to air spade it. It's the air that dries it out afterwards.
Huh.
So I've just been waiting for some good soaking rains and I don't know, we're still in heavy fire season.
Yeah, we're in a serious drought.
Our guys are still out on fire calls. Yesterday, it was 20-something acres over in Goffstown.
Yes,
We're
right.
still on heavy fire.
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
wow.
yeah, it was all in the news last night.
Right,
Yeah,
I saw that as well. Mm.
We've been shipping trucks
Bad.
down to Connecticut, and Massachusetts.
Yeah.
We never ship people to Connecticut to fight a fire. They were so
Mhm.
desperate down there. We've been shipping trucks down there.
Okay, so I guess we're adjourned.
Yes,
Did we do it? Okay, great.
Motion
Thank you.
Adjourn?
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.